Yo, man! Welcome to the Frickcast. Today we have the tale of a true legend, the Cocaine Bear. While the new film takes some rather extreme creative liberties, it is in fact based on a true story. And although the real-life version of events does not include a rampaging bear, it's still very interesting and one I think you'll enjoy. So let's get into it. Our tale begins back in '85, a time of drugs and mayhem. On this day, however, it was just an ordinary morning in Knoxville, Tennessee, when an elderly man was going about his morning routine. As he was shaving, he looked outside his window to see something very strange in his yard. It was a dead body. The man had a defunct parachute, was wearing a bulletproof vest, night vision goggles, and Gucci loafers. He had 2 handguns, survival gear, and rations, 2 identification papers under different aliases, $4,500 in cash, and among other things, a duffel bag filled with $15 million worth of good old, clean for the snorting cocaine. Upon further investigation, the man was revealed to be a notorious drug smuggler by the name of Andrew Thornton. Now, Thornton lived quite the adventurous life, a Kentucky man born into wealth who would spend the early parts of his life enforcing laws rather than breaking them. Thornton was at one point a former paratrooper of the Airborne who participated in the U.S. invasion of the Dominican Republic, a police officer, and even a lawyer, although it seems he never practiced. However, it was during his time as a cop, while working in narcotics, that Thornton would soon become involved in the drug trade. As a narc, he often found himself involved with powerful and dangerous people, including mafia hitmen. But as sort of a James Bond narcotics officer, this line of work seemed to suit the thrill-seeking Thornton. A fellow police officer had this to say about him. As a policeman, Andrew could walk the edge only so long before it became routine. Drug smuggling was a natural transition for him. He was a Starsky and Hutch type of cop. He drove fast cars, popped in and raided people. He was as flamboyant in his life as he was in his death. While he lived a slam-in-it kind of lifestyle, he was also very paranoid, particularly about a nuclear holocaust, and began fortifying his home into a razor-wire surrounded compound, stockpiling weapons and supplies for when the end of the world would arrive. Thornton left his life as a cop behind and joined his friend in a private security venture. However, that turned out to be a Kentucky drug trafficking ring, known as the Company. Through his new line of work, he built up a sizable wealth, but he would also start getting the attention of authorities. At one point, he would be charged with conspiracy in regards to theft of weapons from a military base, as well as smuggling marijuana into the US through South America. He wound up serving 6 months. He was also shot before the sentencing while awaiting trial. Someone shot him point blank in the chest twice when he was leaving a restaurant. However, his trusty bulletproof vest saved him from the bullets, although the police believed this to have been orchestrated by Thornton himself in an effort to show his life would be endangered should he be convicted. Investigators also thought Thornton may have had a hand in some murders as well in the years after his release, as men who had played a role in the case against Thornton died under, let's just say, mysterious circumstances. One was shot at point-blank range as he opened his door, another was strangled in a swamp, and one had his throat slit. It was suspected, but never proven, that Thornton had a hand in these vendetta deaths. However, it was in 1985 that the story you came here for occurred. A now 40-year-old Thornton was attempting another smuggling operation. So what this entailed was Thornton and an accomplice smuggling 400 kilograms or 882 pounds of cocaine from Colombia into the US via plane. The accomplice would come forth years later, named Bill Leonard, apparently an unwilling participant who thought they were going to go to the Bahamas. Not quite. The bodybuilder wasn't told until mid-flight what was actually going on. So like it or not, he was now a part of it. Once they had the cocaine and left Colombia, they now had to bring it back into the States. Now, it was believed they were attempting the new drug trafficking craze. So what they would do is parachute down bags of cocaine from the plane into, say, a forest, where it later would be retrieved with the use of a GPS, just like how the Airborne once delivered much-needed supplies to the trapped soldiers of Bastogne. Now, it was cocaine. How times change. Once the coke was out of the plane, 2 things could happen. Either they fly with the doors open, so all traces of the cocaine would blow out of the plane, or, if they were in danger of being caught, they would put the plane in autopilot and parachute out of the plane, leaving it to fly on and eventually crash wherever it happened to go. Obviously, leaving an autopilot plane just to crash is a huge problem for authorities, so they were on the lookout for these sort of operations. As for this current job, it did not go smoothly. It soon became apparent that they were being tracked, as jets began to follow them. When flying over Georgia, Leonard started throwing cocaine out of the door, which led to an altercation. Ultimately, Thornton would apologize for involving him, and told him they would have to ditch the plane on autopilot and parachute down. They threw out more of the cocaine due to it weighing down the plane, and prepared for their escape. When over Knoxville, the two jumped, Thornton strapping the remaining cocaine to himself, around 77 pounds worth. His accomplice, Leonard, landed safely downtown and went to the rendezvous point. However, Thornton would never show up. He did not survive his jump. The former paratrooper was known for pulling low, waiting until the last possible moment to pull the cord. However, it seems due to the heavy burden of the cocaine, and perhaps a parachute mishap, he was never able to do so and landed head first. Ouch. Later to be discovered by a puzzled elderly man just trying to have a chill morning. His accomplice wasn't caught, but came forth in 1990. The plane was soon found crashed into a North Carolina mountain. However, there was one thing left unaccounted for: the missing cocaine. Soon, they found a lot of it hanging from a tree, found some more of it elsewhere, but it seems someone else got to the rest of it before the authorities. A couple months later, the remains of a 175-pound black bear was discovered in a forest. The legend's name was Pablo Eskobear. In the 40 now empty packages that littered the scene was once a combined total of around 88 pounds of cocaine, valued at $20 million, $55 million today, all gone. Necropsy revealed that Eskobear's stomach was packed to the brim with cocaine, although 3 to 4 grams is all that had been absorbed into his bloodstream before his tragic death. Unfortunately, the medical examiner also revealed that the bear would have suffered from things like cerebral hemorrhaging, respiratory failure, hypothermia, renal failure, heart failure, and stroke as he overdosed. Exactly how much Eskobear had eaten isn't exactly clear. The duffel bag that contained the packages was completely empty, as were the packages themselves. But could a bear really have eaten nearly half its body weight in cocaine? Well, authorities at the time suspected someone else may have been involved. Perhaps a third party came along, saw the deceased bear and an empty package, and then took the remaining ones and set it up to look like the bear had consumed them all. Or perhaps Eskobear threw a banger of a party, with the entire forest getting lit. We'll likely never know exactly. Regardless, the cocaine bear's story doesn't end there. Instead of a proper send-off on a funeral pyre like he deserved, he was taxidermied and displayed like some sort of trophy. Apparently, the medical examiner who had performed the necropsy didn't want to waste the fine specimen before him, so he had him stuffed and gave him to a national park. There he was displayed in the visitor center, without, of course, mentioning his troubled past. In 1990, a wildfire threatened the visitor center, so Eskobear was moved to a storage facility. However, when things were clear, the bear was gone, Houdini'd out of storage. Well, it turned out Eskobear, along with other items, had been stolen and were sold to a pawn shop. By the time all of this was figured out though, the bear was long gone. But where was he? Eskobear was now living the dream in Sin City. He'd been sold to country music singer Waylon Jennings. Jennings had known about Andrew Thornton, so he was excited to acquire the bear from the infamous story. He actually gifted it to Ron Thompson, a Kentucky man who had moved to Las Vegas. Now, Thompson was a friend of Jennings, and he was also once a friend of Thornton, so the country star thought the bear would be the perfect gift. So Eskobear was now displayed at Thompson's mansion, where he hosted lavish parties for rich and famous people. The bear attended many parties for many years, slamming it with Sin City's finest, up until Thompson's death in 2009. When that happened, like much of his estate, the bear was auctioned off. It was then purchased uncontested for $200 by a Chinese immigrant. Eskobear had given up his party lifestyle, now opting for the peaceful life of a traditional Chinese medicine shop. The man displayed the bear at his shop for a few years before he passed away. Now, all of this tracking of Eskobear's journey was done by Kentucky for Kentucky Fun Mall, a shop that prizes such oddities. They traced his journey all the way to what was, at the time, his current situation, being in the possession of the late shop owner's wife. Since she hated having it around, she gave it to the Fun Mall, where it has been displayed ever since, striking fear into the hearts of those who dare look upon its bloodshot gaze. And there you have it, mains, the true tale of the Cocaine Bear. While it's a very interesting story, it's also a very tragic one. While people continue to capitalize on his name, Eskobear's spirit now hibernates in the great beyond, awaiting the arrival of those that have wronged him. As always, thanks for watching.
Yeah, man!